Hello, I'm Esra Drust, and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online. And this hashtag coming up on your screen right now, Reject Finance Bill, is one of that's propelled into a powerful protest movement in Kenya. Over the past week, the online campaign has spilled onto the streets, becoming a nationwide movement. But it took a deadly turn on Tuesday when police opened fire on protesters who stormed Parliament. Our correspondent Anne is in Nairobi. She runs us through the fallout from the chaos and has been speaking with young people who are leading the protests against the bill.
Behind me is the aftermath of the ongoing protest over the controversial finance bill in Kenya. As you can see, young people are scrapping to get some scrap metals over a burnt vehicle that was burnt a few hours ago. And an interesting thing is this is the same group of people, the same lot making a majority of the population in Kenya. They are unemployed. These are people who are making sure, or they're protesting just to make sure that the government gets to listen to their voices. And also, it is important to notice that they're scrapping for scrap metals because they are unemployed. They do not have jobs. Kenya, the government, according to them, has not created enough jobs for them just to have something to do during the day. An interesting thing is, it is through these protests that we have seen a majority of these young people, this population, 18 to 25, being killed. The number still stands at 10 people killed during this protest, and they're making sure that they use the power of social media because this finance will get to tax these social media users, and these are the generation using TikTok. So definitely an interesting. It is important also to mention that I was able to talk to some of these protesters, and this is what they had to say.
At the moment, I can say the government lacks a solid foundation to address these protests. In other words, it seems the government has failed because kidnapping people and detaining them, then releasing them and hurting innocent children is an act that brings no joy to the people, because these are people's children. When I say that these people are being kidnapped, the government should stop kidnapping people and create a space to sit down with the people and ask them what they want, because the bill is what causes the problem.
We don't fear anything. You know, when the government took in, they promised us some things that they don't manage to do. So we don't fear anything. It will be worse even tomorrow. We don't fear whatever. They will kill us all. We are ready.
If this bill is signed by the president, we will continue to oppose it through protests by any means necessary. As young people, we are committed to opposing this bill. If not, the president should engage with us.
This city, Kenya's capital, might look normal as of now, but in a couple of hours, protesters might or will be making their way in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. The reason as to why they're doing this is because they want to remember those protesters who were killed during this protest that have lasted over a week long. They want to make sure they make their way to the office of the Director of Criminal Investigation. And remember, 10 people to be precise, they've lost 10 people during this protest that have lasted a week long. And from what our viewers have seen and what from the interviews we've done, they are not relenting. Their aim is to ensure the government gets to listen to their voices.
Dominic runs us through the proposed tax measures.
The proposed measures include new levies on basic commodities like bread, vegetable oil, and sugar. In addition, the bill proposes an increase to existing taxes on financial transactions. Some of the key challenges that were adopted by the House include the scrapping of the annual 2.5% motor vehicle tax and an eco levy on raw materials for local manufacture of diapers and sanitary towels. The Kenyan government aims to raise $2.7 billion in additional taxes as it grapples with acute liquidity challenges. Kenya's public debt stands at 68% of the country's GDP. That's higher than 55% recommended by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund.
Teddy Odhiambo, a student leader from Kenyatta University, joins us now from Nairobi. Teddy, opposition to the bill was first expressed online, and that's now spilled into the real world. Tell us how social media has mobilized protesters.
Thank you for having me. First, I have to categorically say that this is the first time that we are seeing something that we can call a revolution that has risen from the online influence. And this is particularly from platforms such as X and TikTok. And this is mainly because the youth, many of the youth who actually take almost 80% of the Kenya's population are using these kind of platforms like X and TikTok, and not to forget Facebook. And you know, this has really led to a surge in freedom of speech.
It's alleged that prominent demonstrators are being abducted, particularly those with huge social media followings. What are you hearing about this?
Currently, I can't really term them as allegations, but the truth. The government is in a big fear that if these prominent online influencers are left scot-free to talk about the issues that are affecting the youth, then they are going to continue mobilizing the youth who have since promised that they will continue with their demonstrations till the government listens to their pleas. Currently, we have so very many online influencers who have been abducted unknowingly by police who are in, civilian clothes, and they haven't been arraigned to any known courts within Kenya. And this one shows the high unlawlessness and lack of integrity in within our government institutions.
Gen Z has been driving the protests. Youth unemployment is high, and Gen Z are a significant voting bloc, with about 20 million expected to vote in the 2027 election. How will the protests affect President William Ruto's political future?
I can clearly confirm to you that, leave alone 2027, if elections were to be held today in Kenya, the government of President William Ruto, together with all his MPs and governors, and everybody who is allied to him, will actually fail thoroughly. Because one, Kenyans have lost the trust in them, leave alone the Gen Z, and leave alone the millennials. We have so many people who are really agitated, people who did not vote in the last elections, approximately 6 million Kenyans. And this time, if the situation continues and the president remained deaf on the issues that we are raising, then we are seeing a one-term president in 2027. And this is very possible because everybody is united against this regime, against everybody that is allied to this regime. And I can tell you that in 2027, we'll have more youth in parliament, more youth going for positions and, positions of power in Kenya, and this specifically to remove this current regime out of power.
Teddy, well, thank you so much for coming on Newsfeed today.
Thank you so much.
The Hajj, one of Islam's 5 pillars, is one of the world's largest religious gatherings. It's a journey every Muslim must make at least once in their lifetime, if they're financially and physically able, of course. Every year, millions flock to Mecca for this pilgrimage. Just this year, over 1.8 million Muslims made the trip, with more than 1.6 million coming from 22 countries. But tragically, over 1,300 people have lost their lives in the intense heat, with temperatures soaring to 50 degrees Celsius.
We thought we were about to die. We didn't even have the strength to continue the ritual due to the extreme heat. My hands were shaking, my body was about to collapse, and I was unable to continue.
We were on our way and we saw corpses on the road. They were covered with a sheet. Because the temperatures here are really high, and I'm not just talking about old people, young people have died too.
The Saudi government revealed that 83% of those who died didn't have required permits. Permitted pilgrims travel in air-conditioned buses and stay in air-conditioned tents. In contrast, unregistered pilgrims often face harsh conditions. This year's death toll shed light on an underground network of illegal tour operators and smugglers exploiting Muslims hoping to perform Hajj. Robin tells us more about the process.
Saudi Arabia enforces strict visa requirements for Hajj. Permits are distributed through a quota system and a lottery. Performing the pilgrimage without a permit is illegal and can lead to fines, deportation, and bans on re-entry. However, the high costs of official Hajj packages, ranging from $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the country, push many to try and perform Hajj without a permit. Entry to Mecca gets restricted weeks before Hajj, but many still manage to slip through by arriving early on tourist visas or paying smugglers to ferry them into the city.
North Korea is at it again, sending rubbish-filled balloons to its southern neighbor. On Wednesday, flights were disrupted for 3 hours at South Korea's main international airport because of the trash-filled balloons. Pyongyang has sent hundreds of them across the border since May in retaliation for balloons being sent into its territory by South Korean activists and defectors. While the balloons from the north contain trash, soil, and old clothing, the balloons from the south usually carry anti-Pyongyang leaflets and USB drives with entertainment that's banned in the north, like K-pop music and K-dramas. As the North ramps up its trash campaign, Seoul has threatened to restart another Cold War-era tactic of blaring propaganda through loudspeakers at the border.
우리 군 대북 확성기 방송은
We are ready to immediately turn on our loudspeakers. As I said before, we won't hesitate to carry out loudspeaker broadcasts in accordance with strategic operational circumstances.
From that balloon controversy to a tragedy deep in the depths of the ocean. It's been a year since OceanGate's Titan submersible imploded en route to the Titanic shipwreck, killing all 5 on board. The tragedy in June last year transformed personal submersibles from a luxury niche into a global fixation. Despite all the jokes and memes, the industry found itself in deep crisis. Those who'd never been in one swore off submersibles for good. And even enthusiasts hesitated. Companies saw orders plummet and projects scrapped. The thing is, OceanGate had been controversial for years. Many industry leaders, experts, and enthusiasts had raised their concerns and urged CEO Stockton Rush, who died in the disaster, to follow safety norms.
When I was on my mission in August 2021, we had issues with the electrical power supply all the time.
There was a lot of concern, and by the community, I mean people who operate subs and build subs for a living. There was a lot of concern about this outfit and this sub. A lot of them got together and wrote a letter to OceanGate and said, you have to certify. You cannot take people down. It's irresponsible, and it could lead to catastrophe.
Classed subs undergo rigorous testing and are considered exceptionally safe. But Titan was unclassed, built with experimental materials like carbon fiber, prone to cracking, and certified for depths far shallower than the Titanic wreck. So to regain the trust, all the other companies had to do was demonstrate that their subs can safely dive to Titanic depths repeatedly. Lara has more.
Real estate billionaire Larry Connor and Triton Submarines co-founder Patrick Leahy plan to take a sub to the Titanic's depth a year after the disaster. And they're not the only ones who are still interested in deep-sea exploration trips. Believe it or not, the OceanGate fiasco has cast a positive light on the industry. It also introduced submersibles to a whole new audience. With only 5% of the ocean being charted by humans, the deep sea remains as unexplored as outer space. It holds untold treasures, minerals, and unknown life forms. And for many, it's this unknown that still attracts them to plunge to new depths.
I suspect we will continue to see this sort of industry grow. There may be calls for more regulation, better understanding of how these sorts of vehicles are designed, built, and certified for use in these deep sea environments.
The series that CNN calls the most stressful show on TV is back. The Bear is out on streaming platforms for its third season. And the cast of the kitchen set dramedy reunited in LA for the premiere on Tuesday. In the case of this critically acclaimed series, too many cooks isn't a bad thing. The show follows award-winning chef Carmy, who inherited his late brother's sandwich shop in Chicago, and together with his talented restaurant staff, tried to turn things around. Here's a look at what's to come.
What if I wanted to open a restaurant? They're hard and they're brutal and they're specific, but I know how to do it. This would be a different kind of restaurant.
What will we call this place?
Doors!
Refire! If it's not perfect, it doesn't go out.
You need to calm down.
This is what you wanted, right?
Well, that's something to add to my watch list, and that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.